So we're back again for another video, and this one is going to be ranking music albums from 2025. Seeing as we're about to close off the year, I thought it'd be good to look back at some of the music that's come out this year and basically, just judge them into these different tiers, which albums are the best ones, which didn't live up to the expectations. I'm going to cover all of that in this video. The day of recording this, there is like 1 day left of this year, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this video out before the new year starts, but I'm going to try. Anyway, let's just look here. You can see the albums that I've got here. Most of the big artists, I have listened to their albums, some of them for the purpose of this video. So don't question my dedication to this YouTube channel. I spent time listening to albums from Ed Sheeran, Addison Rae, Taylor Swift. These albums I would not listen to if it wasn't for this video. I missed out a few, like I haven't listened to Sabrina Carpenter's album, Lord, Rosalia. There are some big names that released music this year, and I didn't quite get the time to do it for this video. But we've got 25 different albums here, and essentially, we're just going to rank them into these tiers. So we've got the perfect albums, very good albums, good, okay is like the middle ground, the Met albums, bad and terrible. Oh, and at the end of the video, I'm also going to be crowning my album of the year as well. So, you're going to want to stick around till the end. So, let's just start with Some Sexy Songs for You by Drake and Party Next Door. I'll be real with this album, kind of boring, to be honest. It's kind of like every Drake album, generally not terrible, just a little bit repetitive. Like this album's 21 songs, it didn't need to be. I feel like Drake just sings in the exact same melody over and over again. What my expectations for this album were is that I thought Party Next Door and Drake would be a good duo because with Party Next Door, he can do all the singing stuff, have more impact on the hooks. Drake can do his rapping, which I do think he's a little bit better at. So this album did have potential, but unfortunately, Party Next Door just didn't really add that much to this album. And with Drake, it was the same, slow singing, same melodies, same hooks. Nothing really to talk about really with this album. What I will say is Nokia is a good song. That one was actually different on this album, and there's a reason why this is the most popular song on the album. Give Me a Hug was okay. CN Tower, the opener, was a pretty good song, but it's one of them. Again, it's like one of those typical slow Drake songs. If this song was at the end of the album, I probably wouldn't remember it, but I think it was quite a nice opener. But so with this album, I don't know, I am feeling a little bit meh about it, if I'm being honest. But because there isn't anything necessarily terrible about the album, there isn't like some really bad songs, which Drake is capable of making. To be completely honest, I think this album was fine. Next up, we've got Kid Cudi, who released his album Free. It's clear that he is in a happier place nowadays, which I am happy for him about. But this album, with Kid Cudi, you're either going to get the more punky music from him or more rap music. And this was more of a punky album. It's not really my taste, if I'm being honest. His lead single, Neverland, didn't really do it for me. Submarine was an okay song, but I'm not really a big fan of this album, if I'm being completely honest. I think it might be bad. I don't know. No, I'll put it in there. I'll put it in there because I am going to acknowledge it's not my taste. So maybe some people like this album. As a Kid Cudi album, I'm quite disappointed about it, if I'm being real, but I guess it could be worse. Next up, we got Mayhem by Lady Gaga. Definitely one of the biggest albums this year. She is one of the biggest artists of this century, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. And this album has gotten a lot of praise. And to be fair, I get it. I'm not like a huge Lady Gaga fan. I don't fit into her demographic. But objectively speaking, like songs like Abracadabra, Garden of Eden, Zombie Boy, like they're really good tracks. Obviously, Diver's Smile is a huge song as well with Bruno Mars. I'm not going to say her album was perfect. I don't think it was. I think towards the end, it kind of dies off a little bit. The first half of the album is definitely better than the second. However, I will put this in the very good category. It's not one that I particularly listen to, but I do think if I'm going to be objective about it, I think it is up there. Like, I understand the hype with this album. Next up, let's talk about Ed Sheeran. And look, people might not know this about me, but I'm a bit of an Ed Sheeran hater. Well, with his music, not as him as a person. I just don't like his music, man. I find it so cringe, annoying. You may be able to tell from my accent that I am British. Therefore, I've had to suffer through listening to his songs being shoved down my face on the radio constantly. His marketing team just puts him out everywhere. His songs are that mainstream and inoffensive that they're just everywhere. And that's where he gets all of his numbers from. I don't think there's anything special about his music whatsoever. So I wasn't going into this album expecting anything special. You know what I always get with Ed Sheeran albums? Because I have skipped through a few of them. There's always like one or two okay songs on there, but then the rest is just completely horrendous. This album isn't really anything different, you know. Azizam and Symmetry are okay songs. I mean, they're not great, they're just fine. I can imagine a song like Azizam has been all over the British radio. It's definitely better than his Equals album a few years ago, which I thought was like next level horrendous, like cringe. But yeah, this album just doesn't do it for me. I think it's definitely going to go in the bad tier. I am going to change this Kid Cudi album as well because there is a couple of okay songs on the Ed Sheeran album, but I just don't really like it that much. Okay, next up, let's talk about Hurry Up Tomorrow by The Weekend. I could go on for ages about this album, and you might already see on my channel that I've got two videos already talking about this album. This is a ridiculously good album. Straight off the bat, I'm going to put this in perfect. Now, it is a contender for album of the year, but it's not the only album that I'm going to have in this tier, just to give a bit of a spoiler. But this album's incredible. Like, it's kind of sad how this isn't getting the recognition that it deserves. This album is flawless. Like, it's 80 minutes long, and yet none of the songs drop below 8 out of 10. Like, it's ridiculous how he can consistently create great songs in different genres and make an 80-minute album not feel like dragged out or anything like that. Not even to mention that some of the unreleased songs from this album, like Runaway, Dancing in the Flames, Society, Closing Night in Heaven, like he dropped a lot of great songs for this album as well. And it's still 80 minutes long. Like, I was expecting this album to be great, but I didn't think it would be one of his best because the level is really high with his discography. But this might be his best album. I'll be real. Like, After Hours was probably my favorite album of all time. I think Hurry Up Tomorrow gives it a good run for its money when you consider how much longer it goes on for, and again, that consistent level. He branches into different genres as well. You know, you've got Brazilian funk in there, the 80s synth pop that we kind of know him for recently. He's got rap songs in there. He's got some more like cinematic songs like Red Terror and Big Sleep, more slow emotional songs like Hurry Up Tomorrow and Baptized in Fear. It's a ridiculous album. Like, the only reason it isn't getting the recognition it deserves is because the rollout really let it down. Here's the two reasons why this album isn't being talked about at the same level as what After Hours was. A, because the rollout made no sense. Abel leaked a lot of the songs already on this album. He picked the wrong songs to be his singles. You know, Dancing in the Flames wasn't even in the album. The other issue that it faced is the fact that a lot of the promotion for this album was also alongside the film that he was releasing. Now, the film didn't do very well. So instantly, this album kind of took like the back seat a little bit in the promotion, and it really shouldn't have been. I would say this is probably his best album, objectively. Sao Paulo and Timeless were good songs. Wake Me Up, Open Hearts, Cry for Me, Take Me Back to LA, The Abyss as well. Like, these are the highlights of the song. Like I mentioned before, Red Terror and Big Sleep are great songs. You know, Niagara Falls as well. It's an incredible album. I don't care what kind of music you can listen to. I would fully recommend this album. And yeah, it's in the perfect tier. I don't really have that much more to say about Hurry Up Tomorrow. I Am Music is a weird one because there are some good songs on this album. I particularly like Lie to You and Toxic. They're my two favourite songs. Of course, featuring The Weeknd and Skepta. You know, Philly's a decent song, Backdoor as well. But here's the thing with this Playboy Carti album. Literally everything good about the album has nothing to do with Playboy Carti. Like, the production is pretty good on the album. There's some good beats on here. Not all of them are good. I think some of them are a bit all over the place, a bit too far. Obviously, with this album, they're kind of going for like a new sound. They're trying to do something different. The features on this album are pretty good. They all do what they can do. Like those songs that I mentioned there, you know, The Weeknd, Kendrick Lamar, Skepta, they all perform well in this album. The only reason that this album isn't, say, in okay or good is Playboy Carti. He might be the most overrated artist in the world. I don't even care. There might be fans of his in the comments. He's not a good artist. I'm sorry. He's a good networker. He has good producers to work on the album, and he's getting some of the biggest artists in music to collab on his album. But let me tell you how nearly every song went for me in this album. The beat would come in, you're thinking, oh, this sounds like good. This could be a good song. Then Carti opens his mouth, and then you think, oh, okay, well, that's kind of ruined. And then at some part in the song, a featuring artist will come in and kind of recover it a little bit. And you're kind of thinking, oh, maybe this is okay, actually. And then Carti opens his mouth again, and then it's ruined. Like, that's all I've got to say about this album. I can't put it in bad because there is a few songs that I like on the album, but it can't be an okay. There's some awful songs in this album, particularly towards the end. My God, when you talk about long albums, this is just way too long for me. I'm not a big fan of Playboy Carti. I do not understand how he's in a position to get artists like Kendrick Lamar, The Weeknd, etc. on his album. It's like I don't get it. Sorry. Next up, we've got Addison Rae with her album. I think it's just named Addison Wright. She obviously had two breakout songs from this album, which was Diet Pepsi and Fame is a Gun. Now, these are two pretty good songs, if I'm being honest. The rest of the album for me, maybe because I listened to it once and I'm not really in the target demographic, to be honest, for an Addison Rae album, for being real. But it was okay. It was okay. Like I say, I would probably, in terms of how I enjoyed the album, put it in this tier here, but I'm not the target audience and I do respect it. So I'll probably put it in okay. It's fine. Like I didn't dislike listening to the album. There wasn't anything particularly bad about it. When you consider that it's a TikToker making an album, this should be honking. This should be a terrible album, but I think she did okay, to be honest. So yeah, I've got no issue putting it in the okay category here. Now, You Sexier by FKA Twigs. I got no idea where to put this album. I didn't know what to think of it, if I'm being completely real. I mean, put it this way, you've got 11 songs here, and I don't have any of them in my playlists. I'm not going back to listen to these songs. I understand that it's different, and maybe it's one of those that when you listen to it one time, it's not going to have the impact that it should. It definitely gives me the vibe of an album that you need to listen a few times to get it, which I haven't done. I didn't really like the album, if I'm being honest. It was a bit too weird for me. I'm quite open minded when it comes to music. I'm not very picky. It had that weirdness of the Playboy Carti album in terms of the production. She's definitely a better performer than Playboy Carti, but then Playboy Carti had the featuring artist that kind of dragged the album up a little bit, and that's kind of the difference. I don't know. If you disagree with me, don't give me hate in the comments. I will put my hands up and say maybe I'm just completely misinterpreting this album. It just didn't really click with me. Videos as well are overly strange. So, yeah, just not really for me. Now, next up, we've got Justin Bieber's Swag. We're in 2025 and we've got Justin Bieber making an album called Swag. This should be like terrible. It really should. I mean, I like Justin Bieber's music, but when I saw that album, I was a bit like, what are you doing, mate? I listened to it and I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's a little bit forgettable. I don't think the songs really differ from each other that much, but it was a pleasant listen. I've got no issue with this album whatsoever. I think Justin Bieber works on any kind of genre. He's kind of like The Weeknd, in my opinion, where I think you put him on any kind of song and it will probably work. This kind of genre of music isn't the sort that I would listen to whatsoever. I think it's kind of boring. But Justin Bieber kind of made it work. And for that, I would put this in the good category, if I'm being honest. I did also like the kind of nostalgic elements of this. You know, I think there were some kind of like 90s vibes about it at times, especially in All I Can Take. You know, Daisies, Butterflies, What It Is, First Place, Dad's Love, 405. Like, these are all pretty decent songs. Ironically, Swag is probably my favorite song on the album. And I'm kind of ashamed of that I like a song called Swag in 2025. But yeah, I like this album. The only issue is the interludes. Those interludes with Drewski are pretty shocking, if we're being completely real. I will still keep it in a good tier, but yeah, what the hell is Drewski doing on this album? I don't really understand what the idea was there. It felt very forced. But what I will say is that the album is fairly long. It probably could have been shaved down. It definitely didn't need a sequel. I'll be real. Swag 2, again, is fine. I'm just looking at Spotify now. I have a load of songs here that I like on this album. So, to be fair, I think it probably deserves the same tier, like Speed Demon, Better Man, Love Song, Eye Candy, Don't Wanna, Bad Honey, Need It, Oh Man, All the Way, Petting Zoo, Lion, Safe Place. Like these, yeah, there's pretty decent songs on this album. So I will, again, I'll put it in the good tier. In terms of originality and kind of the need for it, I think it could be lower. But you know what? Just a Justin Bieber album, I'm not going to complain. I would like to hear more music from him, for him to maybe go in a different direction with his next album. But I don't mind this at all. Let's next talk about his ex, Selena Gomez, who did an album with her current partner, Benny Blanco. I mean, I've never listened to an album from either of them, so this was a new one for me. I did it for this video. Their album, I Said I Love You First. I don't really know what I was expecting, but I'm not in the demographic for this, but it was respectable. I didn't mind it at all. Like, there's some good songs on this album. A bit of a weird one is, for example, you know, I Can't Get Enough is on this album. When did that song come out? Like, that's got to be like a 7 or 8 year old song. Like, yeah, I felt that was a bit forced. I wouldn't say that this album is particularly good. I mean, it's fine. You know, I think it belongs in this tier right here. It's not as good as Swag. Sorry, Selena, but you know, it is what it is. Tycoons by Ty Dolla Sign. I think I will probably put this in the okay tier. Again, with like some rap albums, it might take time, but I don't really remember a lot from this album. Songs like "Don't Kill the Party," "Show Me Love," "Tycoons," "Twitch," pretty good songs. But again, this is like a 15-song album, so if I'm taking a few that I like, it can't be that amazing. But I feel like the rest of the album was fairly solid. What I will say is though that there is one song in particular that absolutely stunk, like really cringe. If you've listened to this album, pause this video now and guess which song I'm talking about. It's got to be Small Body, Pretty Face with Kodak Black. This is a god awful song. My God, the lyrics, the singing, it's bad. It's really cringe. The rest of the album is fine, but that's got to knock it down as well. I don't think you can have a good album with a song like that in it. So yeah, I'm all right with putting it in the middle tier there. As I am with Samba's I Barely Knew You as well. This is an artist I didn't know about before. I know he has a really famous song on TikTok, but it wasn't actually that song that brought me to this album. I found the song 12 to 12 on Spotify, and that's my favorite song from this album. That kind of brought me to listening to this. I then obviously heard Back to Friends, but these are the two best songs on this album, in my opinion. I think they're both very good. You've also got Dimed and Undressed, two pretty good songs as well. It's only 10 songs, this album. The rest of it, there's nothing like offensively bad or anything like that. I feel like it's just kind of the same topic over and over again. You know, he's heartbroken. He wants this girl that he hasn't got. And yeah, that's kind of basically the basis of the album. Didn't need to be longer than 10 songs. So I'm glad that he didn't make it any longer than it needed to be. But yeah, this is a decent album. It's a good introduction of an album to this artist who's doing very well this year. Okay, let's talk about Bad Bunny next with his album. Now, forgive me for the pronunciation. Debí tirar más fotos. Now, I speak a little bit of Spanish, but this is the first Latin album that I've ever listened to. I've listened to Latin albums since then, but this kind of opened the door for me to listen to it a little bit more, and it introduced me to the Bad Bunny discography, which is outstanding, to be honest. That being said, I think this is his best album. This is a perfect album, in my opinion. I'm not going to act like the lyrics or anything contribute to my opinion. I don't know that much. I kind of have an idea of most of the songs because of the titles, but obviously, as a rapper, obviously he raps quickly and it's hard to keep up with words unless you're a fluent Spanish speaker. My favorite songs from the album are Nueva Yo, Velda, El Club, EOO, DTMF. There's some other great songs on this album, 17 songs long. There isn't any bad songs. There's a lot of people are saying this is album of the year, and I get that. Like I say, it deserves to be in this top category with Hurry Up Tomorrow, in my opinion. So again, at the end of the video, we'll go through what I think album of the year is. Next up, we've got Artemas with Lovercore, another EP from him. Of course, it's called Lovercore. Now, here's the thing with Artemas. I actually like some of his songs, but I kind of hate that I like some of his songs because you'll be listening to a song with decent production, vocally he's pretty decent as well, and you'll be kind of thinking, oh, this is a decent song, and then he'll just come up with like the most foul line ever. Like some of the lyrics in his songs are just they are cringe. He's trying to go for like the really, the sexy vibe, that a lot of R&B artists go for example. And I don't know, it just doesn't work. Some people kind of have that vibe where they can get away with saying certain things. It doesn't really work, in my opinion. With R&B songs, the way that they sound are a bit more, I guess, quote unquote, sexy, I guess you can say, and the lyrics kind of go with that. But when it's kind of put over the kind of beats that he sings to, the whole sexy romantic vibe that he's going for, it sounds kind of more like the kind of music that two co-workers from CEX would hook up to. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really give you like the I'm going to play this music with a girl kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of makes me feel like I need a shower after. Having said that, some of the songs are pretty good. Like I say, it's just some of the lines in some of the songs. Eat me alive, not quite you. How could you question my love? Like, there's good elements of this. I think he just lets himself down with some of the lyrics. Like, this guy needs a ghostwriter because I think there's potential there with his music, but he just lets himself down with some of the writing. It's like Deji Olatunji is his ghostwriter. So yeah, I'll put him in the okay tier. Okay, next up, Tap the Glass by Tyler, the Creator. I did actually like this album. I'm a bit on and off with Tyler, the Creator. I liked Igor, but then Chromacopia, I didn't like at all. I thought I didn't get the hype. I thought it was very overrated. But this album, I'll be real, I quite liked. Sugar on My Tongue, Sucker Free, Don't Tap the Glass, Don't You Worry, I'll Take Care of You. Tell me what it is. Tell me what it is. My favorite song on this album. I'll put this in good. You know what I do? I like it. It's kind of gives me throwback vibes as well with this. It kind of a feel good album in terms of like the sounds and things like that. So yeah, I think it's one of his better projects in my opinion. Next up, we've got "Can't Rush Greatness" by Central C. Um, you're right, you can't rush greatness. I don't think he's rushing to any greatness anytime soon. It's just not for me, in my opinion. You know what? Maybe if I listen to it again, I might think differently. If I'm just not a big Central C fan, if I'm being honest, I think he's a good feature artist. You know, he's good for one verse on a song, but yeah, a whole album Central C. Again, I don't get the hype around him. Of all of the British rappers to sort of break out and become big outside of the UK, why Central C? Like, I don't get it. Band for Band is a good song. I will give him that, but other than that, the album didn't really do it for me. However, the new Dave album, The Boy Who Played Harp, it did do it for me. I like this album. I didn't enjoy it as much as these three here. I do respect it just as much, if not more. Dave is one of those artists that I think we all know lyrically he's great. Now, lyrics, I know I just complained about Artemis and his lyrics, but when it comes to like rap, I'm not someone who obsesses too much over lyrics, you know, and bars and things, as long as it's not like cringe. With Dave, that kind of holds me back from liking a lot more of his songs. When it comes to the songs on this album, you'll notice a bit of a pattern, you know, history, no weapons, rain dance. I quite like a hook in his songs, where some of his songs, they were just focused on, I guess, deep lyrics and things like that, which I respect, but I'm not going to go back and listen to either. So yeah, I think it's a good album. I'd much rather listen to the Justin Bieber albums or Don't Tap the Glass, but I think it definitely deserves to be up there. Ain't No Damn Way by K Tronada, I was really disappointed with. I will put it in there because the album is smooth. It's just instrumentals. There's no lyrics on this, which again I'm disappointed with. K Tronada is very good at producing music, but I'm not going to sit there and listen for 35 minutes to just instrumentals. I think if he got some voices on this album, it would have been a lot better. But yeah, I was disappointed because last year he released his album Timeless, which I was a really big fan of. That was one of my favorite albums from last year. So coming into this one, you know, is a bit disappointing, but it's not like offensively bad on the ears or anything like that. Next up, we've got USB by Fred again. Now, I don't know how to judge this album because USB was already like an EP that he made, and he's basically put more songs onto it and created a full length album. So you have got old songs on this album like Lights Out, Jungle, Rumble, for example. So I don't know whether to judge him off the album entirely or just the sort of first half where it is new songs. Fred again is a very good producer. I think if we're going to judge the album on the whole, including those older songs, I would put it in good. However, the newer music that he's been making, it's fine, but it's not his best work. I think his prime was back in the Actual Life days. Actual Life 3 is definitely the peak for Fred again, in my opinion. And I think his music since then, he's put out some good stuff, but I think I am seeing a little bit of like a trend downwards, unfortunately. Even with this album, you know, a lot of the better songs on the album, like the ones that I just already mentioned, they were released a couple of years ago. And I'm not really big on albums that have songs that came out years before it. I'm not a big fan of that anyway. But on the whole, the album is good. He's a good producer. But I would like to see maybe something a bit more different from Fred again, or like another Actual Life album. I think that is the best work that he does. Jack Boys 2, pretty good album. I don't remember a lot of the songs, but I've got quite a few liked here. So Champagne and Vaque, 2000 Excursion, Kick Out, Dumbo, Vela, Where Was You, Outside, Beep Beep. I've got quite a lot of songs liked here. So is it kind of creeping into good? I'll be generous. I'll put it in good. It is better than these albums here, but it is at the bottom of the good tier. Next up, we've got Jade with That Showbiz Baby. Now, if you don't know Jade, she was in Little Mix. Again, I'm really branching out with this video, listening to albums that I wouldn't have listened to before. I really did not like Little Mix's music, but Jade definitely has had the best solo career out of all of those members. I think that's pretty undisputable with this album because it's pretty good, if I'm being completely honest. I actually like a few of the songs on this album. Angel of My Dreams was her first single, I think. Really good song, to be fair. I won't even hide away from that. It's a banger. It Girl, Plastic Box, Before You Break My Heart. These pretty good songs. I do think a number of the songs towards the end of the album kind of make it lose momentum a little bit. Like there's definitely a better start to the album than the end. Although, like I said, Before You Break My Heart is a good song as well. I'm tempted to put this in the good tier. I do think it falls off towards the end, so maybe I'll put it in okay. But it's definitely respectable. Again, I'm not the target audience for this, so I do want to bear that in mind. But yeah, it's a respectable first album, 100%. I would say Midnight Sun by Sarah Larson is similar in terms of like that pop record. I just think that she's further down the line of like perfecting her pop music compared to like someone like Jade or Addison Rae. This album was a bit more consistent on like the good songs. I have liked Sarah Larson's previous work, to be fair. Yeah, I feel like this is pretty consistent all through the album. There's no real like proper dips in terms of quality. It's only 10 songs. I do have to bear that in mind. You know, Midnight Sun, Crush, Euro Summer, probably the best songs on this album. Would I put it in good? It's sort of at the top of this tier here in okay. It's a respectable album. It's not her best album, but pretty good. Like Zara Larson, she doesn't really make much bad music. Okay, next up we've got Deadbeat by Tame Impala, which behind Hurry Up Tomorrow was probably the album that I anticipated the most. When he dropped some singles like End of Summer and Dracula, I was really excited for this album, and some of his previous work has been incredible. You know, his last two albums in particular have been very, very good. So I was looking forward to this. I felt maybe a tad underwhelmed with it, just because, like I say, I think his previous two albums were better than this one. However, there's some really good songs in this album, and I think maybe it's a tad underrated. Like people were overhating this, in my view. You know, some people really didn't vibe with it. Maybe it takes time to kind of get used to a slightly new sound that he's gone for. But he opens up with My Old Ways, which I really liked. Dracula, probably the best song on the album. Loser is a pretty good song. Oblivion, Not My World. Obsolete was very good, to be fair. Afterthought, I really liked as well. So there's some really good songs on this album. For me, I'll probably put it in very good. It's not his best album. I think if we were talking about currents, that would be in the perfect tier. But I think Deadbeat, just because it's not his best work. We're talking about Tame Impala, who's very good at what he does. So for me, it definitely deserves to be in his very good tier right here. And lastly, we're going to talk about Taylor Swift and her album, The Life of a Showgirl. Been getting a lot of hate. I know Taylor Swift divides opinion. She's got hardcore fans, and then she's got people that just think she's like the worst artist in the world. This is the first album I've actually listened to for the purpose of this video. However, it was getting clowned on a lot. Some of the lyrics in this are very cringe. Like I know I spoke about Artemis not really pulling off the kind of lyrics that he was putting across, but with Taylor Swift, she kind of puts across like this I'm a tough bad girl kind of vibe. Does not work whatsoever with Taylor Swift. I'm sorry, it never will. And she was just overly sexual in this. It just came across really cringe and like you're trying too hard. You know what I mean? It just didn't feel natural. Some of the lines in this, you know, I was watching some reaction videos about this as well, and some people commented that one song was basically like a diss at Charlie XCX. I don't know what they were beefing about or whatever, but it was basically like, I don't care or think about you at all. Like, I don't care about what you think about me. But then she was making the whole song about it. She doesn't really pull off that whole attitude that she's trying to put across in this album. And she talks about dick a lot, to be honest, which if you're Ice Spice or Sabrina Carpenter or someone, it kind of like, you know what I mean? It kind of works. But when you're Taylor Swift and you've been making like music for little girls basically your entire career, and now you're trying to go down this road, it just comes across as very cringe, in my opinion. The album doesn't even start off that bad, you know. Like the Fate of Ophelia is a good pop song. I mean, I'm not going to listen to these songs in my spare time. Don't get me wrong. I'm just looking at it objectively. If I was someone who would gravitate towards her music, the opener is pretty decent, and I think it was Opalite, whatever it is decent, I guess. But yeah, other than that, it just kind of gets worse as the album goes on for the most part. I don't think it's terrible because the start of the album isn't that bad, but it is bordering on. You know what? Just yeah, I'll put in terrible. If other people are calling it one of her worst albums, then it must be really bad. You know what I mean? Because I don't think there's a Taylor Swift album that I wouldn't put above Meh. So for me, if it's one of the worst, yeah, we'll go for terrible. In terms of album of the year, it's either Bad Bunny or The Weeknd. As you can see, there hasn't been too many amazing albums, but you know, you can basically see the top 10 here, the top 10 albums, in my opinion. Not that I've listened to all of the albums that have been released this year. For me, the album of the year does go to The Weeknd. But he is my favourite artist, so maybe I am being a bit biased there. I just think that album is flawless lyrically, like everything about it, like his performance, the range of genres in it. I think Bad Bunny, you know, if you want to make the argument, then fair enough. But yeah. So that's everything that I'm going to cover in this video. If you enjoyed, hit a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. And subscribe to keep up to date with all of the news around FC26 and other football games, along with career mode content too. And yeah, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.